In recent weeks, a growing narrative has emerged across international political analysis circles suggesting that Vladimir Putin is showing visible signs of concern, and there may be solid strategic reasons behind it. To understand this, we need to step back from headlines and look at the broader geopolitical reality Russia is currently facing. The war in Ukraine, now deeply entrenched and far more prolonged than initially anticipated by the Kremlin, has transformed from what was expected to be a swift military operation into a grinding conflict with heavy economic, military, and political costs. Western sanctions have significantly reshaped Russia's access to global markets, technology, and financial systems, forcing Moscow to adapt under pressure while simultaneously trying to maintain internal stability. At the same time, NATO has expanded its defensive posture, with increased coordination, military readiness, and support for Eastern European member states, which has altered the strategic balance that Russia once relied upon. Inside Russia, although state-controlled media continues to project confidence, economic strain is increasingly visible through inflation pressures, currency fluctuations, and long-term investment limitations that are harder to conceal. On the military front, sustained battlefield losses and logistical challenges have also tested Russia's conventional strength, leading to adjustments in tactics and greater reliance on long-range warfare and external support partnerships. All of these factors combined create an environment where leadership perception becomes crucial, because in geopolitical strategy, perception is often as powerful as reality. When analysts say, Putin's fear is showing, they are not necessarily referring to emotional fear in a personal sense, but rather to strategic caution, an awareness that the current trajectory carries risks that are difficult to fully control or reverse. This is especially relevant when considering how global alliances have solidified in response to the conflict, with countries that were previously neutral or balanced in their stance now leaning more clearly toward Western security frameworks. Additionally, energy politics, once a major leverage tool for Russia, has become more complex as Europe diversifies its energy sources, reducing long-term dependency and weakening a key geopolitical advantage. Meanwhile, emerging global partnerships are shifting trade routes, defense cooperation, and technological development in ways that may gradually reduce Russia's influence in certain regions. Internally, maintaining political cohesion becomes increasingly important under such external pressure, and historical patterns show that governments under sustained geopolitical stress often emphasize stability, control, and messaging discipline. In this context, even small signals, such as rhetoric changes, diplomatic tone shifts, or adjustments in military posture, are closely analyzed by international observers for indications of strategic recalibration. It is also important to recognize that global leadership decisions are rarely driven by a single factor. Instead, they are the result of layered calculations involving military realities, economic endurance, alliance dynamics, and domestic political considerations. So when commentators suggest visible concern, it often reflects a broader interpretation of these combined pressures rather than a literal emotional state. What is clear, however, is that Russia today operates in a far more constrained and contested global environment than it did before the Ukraine conflict escalated, and this naturally influences decision-making at the highest levels. Whether this leads to escalation, negotiation shifts, or long-term strategic repositioning remains uncertain, but what can be observed as a leadership navigating one of the most complex geopolitical challenges in recent history. In that sense, the fear being discussed is less about panic and more about the recognition of strategic limits, where each decision carries significant consequences not just for the present conflict, but for Russia's long-term global standing.